Recording in progress.
I gotta join here.
Hi, Rick.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, I see you now. Okay, give a second. Then I have Donna comes up. Okay.
Okay.
Give a sec.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Donna Chow, and I'm your host and your moderator for today's eLotus webinar. eLotus is the leading provider of continuing education for acupuncturists. And today's webinar is Palmistry, gift markings presented by Rick Bernard. Before we begin, let me do a little housekeeping. Today's webinar will be from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific time. This is Rick's third palmistry course at eLotus. To learn the basics, be sure to watch his first two introductory classes, which are available on elotus.org and are CEU approved. And even better, I recommend the Gold Pass membership, which allows you to see all his past and future webinars for free, as well as receive unlimited CEUs and free herbs. If you have not done so already, you can get a copy of the lecture notes from the course access page in your account. And if you want to join the chat, please set your chat to everyone so that everyone can be part of the conversation and see what you're typing. You'll have to do this manually because by default, the Zoom only allows the speaker and staff to see what you're writing. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom control panel. And if there is time, then Rick will be able to help answer them for you. The quiz and the video replay will both be available tomorrow afternoon, and you will receive an email notification when they are both ready. Let's get started with a quick introduction of Rick Bernard, who has studied palmistry for over 20 years with his mentor, Richard Unger. And today he will share his interpretation of what he has learned in hopes that it inspires us to study more about this branch of medicine to better support our patients and clients. Okay, Rick, you can go ahead and take over now and share your PowerPoint.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining me for the third class in our series of learning how to read hands. This is kind of a fun class. We're going to teach you how to pick out gift markings and how to use them to actually empower your patients. Because people, it's really helpful for patients to know their talents and their skills. It feeds them. It makes them actually stronger. So we want to try and empower our patients any way we can. And gift markings is kind of a good way to do it. Not everybody has gift markings. Some people have multiple gift markings. That can actually be a little bit confusing and a little bit difficult for people. So, but if you do have them, it's really kind of fun. And it's just a matter of figuring out whether you're actually using them or not. And there are ways to tell that by looking at other elements in the hand. So we're kind of build our database as we go along here, because ultimately we want to be able to start threading traits. And so not just pick out one thing in a hand and talk about it by itself. We want to, so you have a star of Jupiter, a gift marking. How does that work on a earth hand versus an air hand or a water hand? You want to start looking at combinations and see how different energies kind of work together. My mentor has mastered that. I don't use this enough. I do it more as a hobby now, but I mean, he reads hands with people every day. So he's really great at threading traits, and you get better at it as you do it more and more. And we'll do a little bit of that today, kind of show you how it works. So gift markings are more than just a talent that we have. It's they have to be used, or there's actually a penalty for not using them. And Richard kind of developed this whole theory about gift markings, that they're great to have, but if you're not using them, there's actually a penalty that you pay. So when we discover what our gift markings are, we really want to put energy towards using them. And sometimes gift markings are gestational. There's a longer gestation period for some gift markings than others. So sometimes it takes years to really to develop how to use the gift mark. And it's like Michael Jordan. For basketball fans out there, Michael Jordan, most of you know Michael Jordan anyway, basketball player. When he was a sophomore in high school, he got cut from his basketball team. And through time and effort and using different talents and developing different talents, he became one of the best player actually ever to play. Gift markings are kind of like that. Gift markings, a lot of gift markings are just lines crossing with a common center. Usually you'll have 3 lines that'll cross and have a common center. You'll see some in just a second. And each one of those lines is a different skill trait. So you want to have, some people only have 4 or 5 of those lines crossing. They haven't really quite developed the gift. So you're really looking for 3 lines that have a common center that are crossing. Okay. And then, people are using their imagination, which is kind of the moon area of the hand, cleverness, which is part of the Mercury trait. Apollo is more creativity. They're using the creativity. They're using the discipline of their Saturn finger. They're using the confidence of their Jupiter finger and the determination of their thumbs. And that creates the whole gift marking is when people can develop all of those on one skill. So we want to determine where those gift markings show up and under which finger that they show up. That'll tell us a little bit more about what that's all about. So another thing about gift markings is that they want to become the centerpiece of your life. So it's not just good enough to have those. And I say some people are kind of water cooler psychologists. They work for IBM and they, on their break time, they go to the water cooler and they start giving advice to people. Well, that wouldn't be using your talent, your gift enough. You have to actually do it as a centerpiece of your life. You want to be, for example, if you had a medical stigmata, the mark of a healer, you'd want to be some kind of a counselor. You just can't do it part-time and during your break time at the water cooler, so to speak. So again, penalty phase is something I haven't had a lot of experience in really looking into. I usually will see a marking and I'll try and see if there's anything that's preventing them from using it, and I'll show you how to do that. And I don't really talk so much about what the penalty is if they're not using it. I want to try to empower people. I don't want to concentrate on the negative part of it so much. So Beethoven, for example, doesn't have just a musical talent, he has a gift. So he needs to use it, and he has to actually bring it out into the world and be part of the centerpiece of his life. Okay, so playing at weddings and bar mitzvahs and would not be fulfilling his gift marking enough. Okay, so usually when I see somebody with a gift marking, there's 2 questions that I want to ask them. Is the person aware of their special capability? Many times they are. And then there are times when they're actually not. They be a leader? No. But yet they have people following them that they don't even realize that are listening to them. And they actually are in a leadership position, and people view them that way, but they haven't taken that on, and they don't really believe it enough. So it's a lot of developing self-esteem. Okay, so again, if they do recognize that they haven't made it the centerpiece of their life yet, and that's what we want to kind of get people to do, take advantage of their gift marking. Here's a list of some of the gift markings we'll talk about. There's a couple I did not include in here, like the Persephone headline, but we'll talk about most of the other ones here and how they work in a person's life. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. Now, we're going to start kind of across the hand, underneath the fingers, and underneath each finger on the pad is where these gift markings are all going to show up. These first gift markings, these first 4 gift markings, and this is going to be underneath the Jupiter finger. Remember, Jupiter is Zeus. Jupiter is a mythological Roman, but it's in the Greek mythology. He's actually Zeus, and Zeus had lightning bolts, right? So this is a mark of the leader. Okay, inspirational leader. And let's move a little bit forward. So you can see the crossing forming a star, a 6-point star there. It's not a perfectly formed star, so it's got a little bit of work to do, but it's enough to provide leadership. And you can look at some of the other markings. I'm going to show you, just kind of point out other little markings in the hand to just so you get used to seeing them. So you can also see the verticals that run up lines that run up towards the Jupiter finger. And you can actually see a couple of them. Those are lines of ambition. So obviously that's going to go with the Jupiter. That's going to feed the Jupiter finger. And you can see a box right in the middle of that circle that is formed. And that's actually called the teacher's box. And those are people that tend to have really good skills at teaching. And that would be a helpful tool to have if you're trying to be a leader and lead people. These horizontals here, these are just lines of sensitivity. Remember, these are called girdles. We went over these in an earlier class. Any line that's above this heart line, the horizontal line, is going to be an extra line of sensitivity. Okay. So this is a sensitive leader. Okay. So you want to start threading traits. Okay. This is a gift marking for leadership. This is a marking of sensitivity, empathy for people. So they're going to be perhaps maybe an empathetic leader. Okay, all the fingers look pretty good. They're all pretty straight. You don't see any real weakness here. The Mercury finger, little finger, you can see it's pretty long. That's actually good. Long Mercury fingers like people that are quick, sharp, and clever. So combine that with leadership. That's gonna provide some nice traits in addition to the leadership. Thumb is in a good position. It's not as far out as it could be, but it's still in a real healthy position there. It's spread out away from the fingers. That's what we want. Those are people that manifest, create their own destiny. Okay, they're doers. Okay, so star of Jupiter. This is the valedictorian. Okay, this is the leader of your senior class. They're high achievers. They believe. Now, Jupiters are very sure of themselves. They know what they want. They're not waffling. They're very sure of themselves. Now, sometimes they haven't totally got there yet. It takes a little while sometimes to develop this. But again, it really is a mark of an inspirational leader. So they're designed to be, this is a design, internal design, that they're designed to be important. So it's just a matter of stepping into that role in life. It's man, woman of influence. Okay, so what are they doing? What if they're not doing their Jupiter? What kind of things? This is more the downside possibilities of not stepping into their gift marking yet, or still in the learning stages of the gift marking. They're, instead of the leader themselves, they're actually the power behind the throne. They're the Nancy Reagan to the President Reagan. They're doing the power, the leadership and decision making actually behind the perceived leader. Okay, they get their ambitions through somebody else. They settle for a support role rather than the leadership role that they should be in. Victim games, they tend to blame others if for things don't go their way, but not that important. Many times you'll see a person that actually will look to marry someone that will fulfill that role for them. So that's a possibility too, of the downside penalty phase of the star of Jupiter. So you have to step into that leadership position when you're a Jupiter person. Here's another little star marking, a little bit hard to see, but it's a 6-pointed star. On I would call this an air hand. It's kind of a long hand, long fingers, long palm. So it's a Jupiter finger on an air hand. Air hand people tend to be fair and just. So this may possibly be a real fair, honest, integritous leader. Very long headline. You can see the headline is actually quite long. Remember the rule of the headline: the longer the line, the more or finger, the longer a person spends there. It's a person who spends a lot of time in their head. And we're actually going to talk about this line later when it goes even a little bit further. This is actually a gift marking too. My teacher used to call it the HAL line. HAL from this old movie, HAL is a computer that ended up taking over the world. They can multi-process, but they spend a lot of time in their head, basically. Okay, here's actually a double star, and you can actually see this one a little bit better. Actually, you see two stars right next to each other in the left top circle. And that's an extra responsibility to take on a leadership position in life. Okay, but look at this hand. Look how busy this hand is. What do you think their nervous system is like? So what's interesting to look at is look at the shape of the Jupiter. That might tell you a little bit about if they're having trouble inhabiting that Zeusness, and you see the stress in the how the finger is bent. So he's evidently feeling, or he or she is feeling stress in this area of their life. Okay, and another marking we haven't talked about, it's actually a challenge marker. This is a star, but it's not a positive star so much. It's called desire pollution. It's a person who hasn't really confused about their desires, confused about their passions, what they really like, what they really want. So you think that would make it more difficult if you really didn't know what you want or needed to do your leadership stuff? Yes. So there's going to be a couple challenge markers that are going to show in this hand. Okay, so let's move on to the next finger. This is a star underneath the Saturn finger. Saturn finger is the middle finger of the hand. And this is an interesting hand. And look at all the vertical lines in here. Vertical lines, remember this kind of energy, positive energy. Lines that go horizontally across the hand are going to be more challenges. So a lot of positive energy in this hand, but a very busy hand. And look at the strong line of fate line, which actually goes straight up and actually helps to form the star. It goes right up to the finger. You don't see a lot of lines, fate lines that are this strong. So it's a person who's very responsible, very accountable, more serious nature. It's a very strong Saturn finger, go straight, that is. So a lot of Saturn energy in this hand. But if you look at the shape of the hand, this is an earth hand. And it's also, this is one of our, we haven't got to combination hands yet. We're actually going to do a whole class on combination hand shapes. And this is a combination of earth, because of look at the squareness, the squatness of the hand. And then look at the lines, how they look like Zorro took a whip and made these lines. So this is an earth and a fire hand. And we have a nickname for this hand. This is called the worker bee. And with worker bees, life is all about work for them. If work is good, life is good. If work is bad, life is bad. So it's a very, very busy hand, and a lot depends on a person's career for how happy they are in life. Thumb is very strong and good position here. This person's probably doing a good job handling that. This is a lot to handle. When you see these many lines in the hand, nervous system's going to be quite busy. He's got a lot of things going on. He's working on a lot of things at one time, and you really need a strong thumb to control all that. In this hand, it's actually doing a pretty good job with that hand, with that thumb. Okay, let's move on here. Okay, the interesting thing about this hand is this is a sign of riches. It's kind of like the goose that laid the golden egg. You want friends like this because they end up feeding you money. Or they're ideas people. They're connectors. They find a way to make people rich. They give ideas. They can connect you with somebody that can help you with your business. Tends to be people that let me just back up here in the star of Saturn. Okay, let's go this one. We skipped there. So this is a wealth generator. It's a good way to look at these people. They're a conduit for others having their needs fulfilled, particularly monetary, and they're just a web of connectivity. They just help others get money in their lives. Now the challenge for them is to get money in their own lives, and many times it takes. I have a person I know, a friend I know. Has this, and he's really a great connector. He's really great at referring people to other businesses or connecting other people with ways to make money but he struggled himself for many years until the last 2 years, and all of a sudden now he's really stepped into his own and really realized that he has the ability to make money himself, not only hand out all this great advice and connect other people. May indicate task ability or organizational intelligence. He's really, really, really great at this, very organized. Okay, then so the challenge penalty phase could be everyone else gets rich except for him. So yeah, and they end up suffering. The middle finger is a finger of self-worth, self-esteem also. If there are issues with the Saturn finger, it can involve self-worth issues. And they may just not realize how valuable, worthwhile their contribution is till later in life, which was certainly the case with him. again, here's another star of Saturn. And this is an interesting combination too. And we'll talk about, like I said, we're gonna have a full class on combination types. This is a water hand, forgive me, is a water hand and also a fire hand. Again, look at the lines. Fire hands tend to have a lot of lines like this. Sometimes it's just the shape of the hand is fire, but it can be fire just by looking at the lines. So this is a combination of air and water and fire, I'm sorry. And so this, we have a nickname for this type of a hand too, this combination, and it's called the illuminator. And they tend to be people that are really into self-help. You look in their library of books and they'll have a lot of self-help books. They want to help illuminate other people, help bring them information that can improve their lives. So, and in this case, they would probably use that gift, their gift marking, to help people make money. Okay, again, a very busy hand, lots of lines, lots going on, lots to manage. Look at the thumb. It's a very strong thumb. It's in a good position, away from the fingers, spread out fairly well. It's got a very strong, if you look at the setting, remember we talked about set points, and this tells us a little bit about our need system. And the need for Jupiter, you can see how high set this is. It's almost even with the Saturn finger. Usually it's set a little bit lower, even with the Apollo finger. When it's high set like that, that means the person has a high need for respect. Again, lines, some ambition lines here. He's got some teacher boxes too, he or she. Just a lot going on here. If you do look at the headline, I'll look at the headline, how it directs itself down towards the moon area. So this is a tended person that kind of dig deep into life, and they can sometimes get stuck down there. And again, if it's a little closer, it doesn't snug the lifeline as much as it could to be a Persephone line. Persephone lines tend to have tendency towards depression. So this is kind of headed down there. They may spend some time down there and get back out. You can inquire about that if they have issues with depression, but it's not a full Persephone. It doesn't go quite as deep as a Persephone would, and doesn't follow the lifeline as closely as it needs to be a pure Persephone. But it has that energy, so that may be an issue that they're dealing with. I would say to look at the Mercury finger, how low set that is. So that's an issue of abandonment, fear of abandonment in relationships. Okay, just a couple things to look at. It's good to kind of see things and kind of keep going over them and looking at them in different hands, and then try to figure out how those energies might fit together. That's where we really get into the threading part of it. That's when it really gets fun. Okay, so this is the star of Apollo. And I think somehow my slides got mixed up here. Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah. Star of Apollo. Apollo has creativity and self-expression finger. This is the finger of performer. It's a person who's really individualized. They have some special skill that a lot of times they haven't discovered yet. Some special way, some creative way to do things. This is a on an obviously Earth hand. Look how square shaped this is. One thing about Earth people like to help others, and with a strong Apollo finger like this, they have a need for that to help other people. We have a nickname for that. Sometimes we call it an unappreciated hero. If Apollo is strong, they want recognition and acceptance. And a pure Earth person without a strong Apollo would never ask for that. But when the Apollo is strong, the need for acceptance is really strong. So they want to be really appreciated for things that they do for other people. It's an interesting thing about Earth people. They're the strong, silent type, very simple things. They like to do things for others. In this case, they'd want to be appreciated as well. You can look at a lot of armoring on the heart line. So this is a person that's really protecting their heart. Maybe they've been hurt in the past relationships. And it actually, if you follow it, it starts to dip back. And this is called the D fork. We talked about this in a past class. The D fork is kind of giving away your power. It's kind of a people pleaser line. It's a difficulty in saying no to others. So it's going to have that energy, and you can kind of check with them and kind of see if they have that issue, or they can stand up for themselves and they have a good ability to say no. So it's a high creativity marker. It's individualistic expression, high visibility. So Apollo is the performer, so it needs a stage. Okay, it wants to perform in front of other people. Sometimes a common combination you'll see is Star of Apollo plus the healer. We're going to talk about the healer marking again in a second, in a little bit. And it's a bunch of verticals, a number of verticals, 6 verticals specifically underneath the Mercury finger. And that's a healer. It would be a healer that needs to be in the spotlight out in the front. Okay, they can't do their healing in the garage alone by themselves. They have to be probably teach it in some way, get out in public. Apollo likes to perform. Downside of this possibly Star of Apollo is there's tomato fear. A person is afraid of rejection, so they're afraid of performing, doing their performance in public. That's why sometimes Star of Apollo takes a while to develop, because people have the fear of performing in front of other people, which we all have to some extent, I think. Or they haven't found their niche. I don't belong. They haven't found their niche, their creative source yet, what to really, how to express their creativity. Here's the Star of Apollo on a water hand. So again, water is sensitivity, empathy. What's interesting about this hand too is look at we're going to, if we have time at the end, we're going to talk about fingertips and the different shapes of fingertips rather. And these are, you can see how these are kind of splay outward, they kind of get wider. And usually you'll see it more than any other finger. You'll see it on the Apollo finger. In this case, you see it on the Apollo and the Saturn finger. And we're going to talk about, and these are called spatulated tips. We're going to talk about spatulated tips, but I just wanted you to see what they look like, how they're actually kind of spreading outward. Sometimes tips can be pointed. Sometimes they're just rounded nicely. And sometimes they're actually kind of squared off. Okay, this would be a good example of spatulated tips. Okay, this is a gift marking I've never seen. It's a little bit hard to see on the print here, but on the original print you can see it a little bit clearer. And it's called the Star of Mercury. Mercury is a finger, quick, sharp, and clever. I would just look at some other things on the hand real quick. I would look at, again, this is another high set Jupiter finger, high need for respect in this person. Let's move forward here. So it's a person with special ingenuity, highly inventive, lots of creative ideas. The Mercury finger is really all about ideas, great business ideas, great marketing people, great in commerce, great in business skills. It's really the finger of communications, intimacy and communications. Left pinky is more for intimacy. Right finger is more out in the world, in public. So a combo for this, possibly Star of Mercury plus the healer marking I talked about, we're going to talk about in a second. And that would be a person who has new ideas in the healing arts. I think I'm having a little problem with my memory here. Let's see. Not me, myself, but my computer here, because it's stuck. Let me see what we can do here. Let's let it wind here a bit. I'm going to get my tech person over here and see if she can help me get this fixed real quick. Hang on just one sec. Yeah. I don't know how I'm going to fix this. advanced now. It said
Okay, let me see. Where does it say memory issues?
it did. Box. Oh, here we go.
Okay, hold on. It's saying not responding.
Oh, it's quits and applications maybe.
Maybe.
Okay, I think we're back in business. Thanks for waiting for me here. Yeah, thank you. She wanted to get in the video actually, so we had to take a little break here. Okay, let me just get us back to where we should be here. Star of Apollo, here we go. Okay. Healer in the spotlight. Tomato fear, okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, Star of Mercury, negative possibilities, cluelessness, lack of accurate impression he makes, lack of emotional presence. Blocked intimacy is probably the main thing you're going to see with problems on the downside of Mercury issues. If they're not performing Mercury well, they're actually usually they're going to be in some kind of relationship issues. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to move on to the Star of Mars. And you can see that here, and you can see this marking here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stems here. Star of Mars is the area of I guess you could say courage. This is called the kind of the warrior zone. I call it the warrior. When you have a star here, this is like an excess of that. So it's kind of like chutzpah. A person's got courage, fearlessness, to stick up for himself, doesn't mind confrontation. Again, look at this hand. We had a lot of earthy fire hand combinations. This has maybe a little bit of air because the palm is a little bit longer. There's a lot of fire in this hand. Again, it's a lot to balance here. I would say this Apollo finger, you can see the spatulated tip on this one. This would be kind of spatulated. It's a little bit square too, but when it branches, when it kind of spreads out at the top, that's considered a spatulate fingertip. And we'll talk about those at in the end. I'm getting these forced quit applications here for memory issues. I'm sorry about this. Oh my goodness, what we got here. I'm sorry, I'm getting these messages forced. My system's run out of application memory here. Again, let me just see if I can out of some of this. No. See if I can continue here. Exceptional courage. Courage advocate fights for the underdog. Combination plus Star of Apollo, courage to be seen. I'm sorry, I'm getting a problem with my computer again. I've quit just about everything I could quit, I think. I may have to restart this. Let me try something real quick. Do it again. Yeah, it was working for a while, and now I'm getting the same message here.
There's quite applications. What are you pushing when it comes up?
Yeah, just going from one now.
Now let me go forward. and force quit it and then start it over?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Can you just keep talking more?
I'm gonna restart this computer. Just give us a few minutes,
Can you
please.
just keep talking more?
Okay.
Why don't you answer questions? Why answer questions? This one.
Yeah.
Side are you on? Micros.
Yeah.
Just advance through this one. Don't push any others. Maybe just try
I'm not sure if I'm on though here. Let's see. My box here.
that. Yeah, I think you should be on that. You should be.
Just- I think that's probably my business now. Go to this.
You just want to make sure though. That's where you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. I love technology. Say that very sarcastically. Okay, back to Star of Mars. Okay. Again, this is so the downside of just marking possibly in this area is anger. And this is where there's an anger line in the hand. I think we probably showed it in the last class in challenge markers that starts in this area and runs straight across horizontally across the hand. That's an anger line. And so this is the downside of Mars. If you're not expressing your anger out effectively in a healthy way, it ends up with rage, belligerence, explosive anger. Okay. Okay. This is the star of intention. So remember, the tip of the thumb has all to do with will, determination. And this is an extra dose of that. Okay, so this is the super manifester, the doer. They think of it, it happens. Their ability to create what they want, the ability to influence others. It's a very strong marking. You want to look and see if that, a lot of times I'll look and see the position of the thumb when I see that marker and see if they're doing their manifestation. And you look and see how wide that thumb is. So this is a person who's really creating their own path. They don't depend on other people to get things done. And you can see this is in a great position for manifesting things in your life. So it goes really well with the star marking, the gift marking here. Everything else looks pretty good. Pretty curvy heart line there. You can see how it bends pretty sharp. At the last minute, it kind of starts to jet over towards the Jupiter finger. But it really, if you look at the main course where it wants to head to this. We talked about the Madonna heart line or Gina heart line. I think I call it the Madonna, where it's kind of a me first orientation. They're going to look out for their own needs first and then other people's needs afterwards. And that's okay. I mean, it's healthy as long as you're not only about yourself. Okay. And again, the curvy line, heart line, that's the expressive personality. So they're going to express their will. They're going to be vocal leaders probably. Okay. Super manifester. I think if it had happened, this ability to create what they want. Okay, the doer. Downside of a person with this, possibly stubborn. They're going to stick to their ideas. They're not going to be open to other new ideas. It could be uncertain before they really learn how to use their become manifestors. They unsure of themselves. I mean, again, there's a gestation period for these markings, so sometimes it takes a while. Again, what if a person had a small angle of opposition of their thumb? So that would be an opposing thing to look at if somebody had a star on their star of intention on their tip of their thumb. When you look at the tip of the thumb, look at how much meat's on there. If there's a lot of meat on the thumb, that's a person that's got a lot of energy. A person that's got a very flat thumb, not much meat on there, that's a person that a lot of times is low on energy. They burn themselves out quite a bit. Okay. Okay. Here's another star. It doesn't show up that well on this print, unfortunately, but it's another star of intention, and it's combined with a couple other healer markings we're going to talk about in a second. I just wanted to show it to you. You see these verticals on the tip of the Mercury finger. Those are lines of genius. We're going to talk about those in a second. And it also has vertical lines underneath the Mercury finger. Okay, that's called that medical stigmata. That's the mark of a healer. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes too. Now here's a great illustration of a third star, and the third star is if you look, the third eye is in his chakra system is the seer, the person that sees things that other people don't. They have special insight, and look how far in the position of this thumb is. Do you think that they're doing that skill set? Probably not. Okay, they have to. If someone's positioned further out wide, then there's a good chance that they actually are manifesting that gift marking. Let's see if there's anything else worth talking about in this hand. Pointy Jupiter finger. Look at the tip of the Jupiter finger. Pointy. We're going to talk about pointy, what that means. Okay. We talked about the spatulated tip. This would be a pointy tip. Okay. Just kind of catalog that away, and we're going to talk about that a little bit at the end. Okay. But not a great position for this thumb to be in. We want it to be much, much wider. Okay. So the third eye, this area is a person with high discernment. They're advanced wisdom. They're able to connect the dots, understand underlying factors, hidden dynamics. They really put things together well. They're similar to the know-it-all thumb. And remember the know-it-all thumb in this middle section of the thumb? Those are some people have very thick zones here. And that's a person who they know what they know. They are very sure of themselves in a certain area. If it becomes too big, those are more of a know-it-all personalities. So it depends on how it's being used. If it's the mother-in-law that's telling you how to raise your kids and what you're not doing right, it could get old pretty quick. Or a neighbor that's always on you about how to grow your petunias right, and you're not doing so and such correctly. So it depends how you use it. But it's a great tool to have. This middle zone of the hand. It does mean that you have a really good ability to kind of put everything together, synthesize everything, and just have a good knowledge base and confidence in your wisdom. And it's just a matter of whether you're willing to share it. And a thumb in this position, probably not ready to share it. So again, third eye blindness, metaphorically, instead of being able to see everything and really clearly, they're just the opposite. Clueless to behaviors, stuck in the water cooler, giving advice. Okay, just not using their skill set. This is the Dalai Lama's hands, and then you can see the thumbs. You can see how thick this area of the thumb is. This knowingness area. He knows what he knows. He's really believes in his knowledge base, and he's willing to share it. He's got interesting hands. He's got very strong accountability, responsibility line here. The fate line, look how strong that is. Yeah, very healthy hand. It's got a lot of meat to it, a lot of strength. Look at the chutzpah zone, high courage. This is the way he's a warrior too. Okay, he's going to really fight for what he believes in. It's always neat to see celebrities and what their hands look like. Remember, I saw Sylvester Stallone in a handprint and on the Walk of Fame or whatever they call it in Hollywood, and his thumb is like straight out. And that's a person who's going to make all the decisions in his career for sure. And that's what he's done. Okay, star on the moon. We have about 15, 20 minutes. I promise not to, not to make this a 2-hour lecture. I think we're going to try and keep it in 1 hour this time. So we'll keep working through this really quickly. Star and the moon, that's, let's just take a look at it. Deep meaning in life where others do not. They kind of spend time in deep in thought. And there's always a spiritual connection, how we interrelate with the universe. But it's a special intuitive ability. And there's a couple of markings, a line of clairvoyance also in the moon area. It's very similar meaning to this. And it's just kind of a spiritual wisdom. So the downside possibilities, disillusionment, depression, loss of meaning in their life. Okay. It's hard to live in a world where people don't see what you see and be accepted. And having to be careful what you say all the time, not to kind of seem too airy-fairy. But it is a gift that has a lot of value if it's used correctly. Star of the moon with the illuminary. Again, this is a combination air hand and fire. And that's nicknamed the illuminator. And they could use their spiritual wisdom to illuminate people. Oh, so here's a medical stigmata. I like to look at people that are in the healing profession and see if they have this. And so this is more of a counselorship. It's not you're not going to see a lot of these on surgeons, people that don't really spend much time counseling people. They're just kind of really good technically, but not so much with counselorship. So you see people that are, marriage and family counselors that have stuff like this. Acupuncturist, even if you spend a lot of time counseling people, and then a lot of us do. Usually it takes 6, but even 4 is putting out a lot of energy there. Sorry. Okay. On the other side of it, you can see underneath the Jupiter finger, these lines here, those are called rings of Solomon. And those are insightful hands too. Those are they're kind of bullshit detectors, I guess, pardon my language. But it's having a kind of an inner wisdom, being able to see what's going on with a person inside. So they kind of go together pretty well. Again, medical stigmata, the gifted therapist or counselor, psychological insight, your catalyst for growth for people. Okay, again, 6 verticals required, though 4 enough is on an earth hand for sure, because earth hands don't have many lines anyway. So they have more, each line has more impact. But even I've seen four lines on people that air hands, water hands, doesn't matter, that they're putting out a lot of energy in counselorship. So. And then the downside of this is underneath the Mercury finger. So the problems people have when they're not doing their Mercury correctly is usually relationship issues, blocked intimacy. Okay. Okay. So here's a gifted healer with a star of Saturn. So maybe they found a way to make money, because money is going to be of interest to the Saturn energy. It's combining those two. It's using your counselorship for money. This would be a perfect hand for a counselor who wants to have a high earning career. Okay, let's look at lines of genius. These are interesting. They sound great. They're vertical lines. Usually you want 3 vertical lines on the last flange of the Mercury finger. And lines of genius are gifted writers, public speakers. Okay. Mercury finger is all about communications. Okay. So they can translate complex subject matter into an easily understandable message, requires a mass audience. So whenever I see this on people, I ask them if they've written their first book yet. And usually they'll say, well, no, but a lot of people have asked me the same question. So yeah, So they have to, they have a message that it needs to be shared. And so it's, you just want to kind of encourage them. That's what they should be doing with this energy. Okay, here's another one on a air fire hand. Yeah, just leave it at that. Keep moving on. Okay. Pointy Jupiter. You can see pointy Apollo. Good position of thumb. So it's going to aid you just about anything. Actually, a strong thumb. Okay. Very straight headline. Logical, linear, practical person. Heart line's a little bit messy. A little bit of emotional stuff. A little bit of unraveling in their emotions, unclarity in their emotional life. Lines of genius running around in circles, lots of energy expended for little results, chasing your own tail. I have a friend that has this and has about 4 or 5 other gift markings. And gift markings sounds great. You know, you get a lot of them, you're excited, you must have all these talents, but it's very hard to use all of those different types of energies. It's like having 5 children and giving each of them the attention that they deserve. And if they don't get it, they act out. And that's what kind of happens. It kind of creates a mess in your life, unless you have a really strong thumb and maybe a real strong Saturn energy. Saturn is all about organization and accountability and responsibility, and it kind of keeps everything in order, planning, that type of energy. So strong Saturn. So look at the Saturn. You can see the Saturn finger is nice and straight, kind of standing up straight. A big moon here. So look at the moon. Moon is all about imagination, right? Deep thoughts, spending time thinking about deep meaning and stuff. When you see a strong Saturn and a big moon, that's makes for a good writer. And what better for a person that's got this this marking up here than to have these other signs that show, okay, they're probably they probably have written their book or getting started on it anyway, right? It's a good storyteller too, especially a long Mercury, quick, sharp, and clever with a big moon. Those people, these are the communication finger, and they have a big imagination. Those are people that are really good storytellers. Richard Unger actually has this combination in it, and he's one of the great storytellers of all time. Okay, line of clairvoyance is actually the line on the ulnar side of the hand, and you can see how it's a intercommunication line that's actually bent, and it's curved, and it's very similar to the star of the moon, similar type energies. In this case, you've got this in combination with the star of Jupiter. And I just showed this print just because I wanted to show these are opposite energy type markers. This is more yang, would be more of a yang gift. It's more of the action side of the hand, where this is more the inner reality, inner life, and on the ulnar side of the hand. And sometimes hard to combine gift markings on the opposite sides of the hand. It can be a little bit tricky. Another spatulated tip here on the fingertip of the Apollo. The Apollo is the finger that tends to be spatulated more than any other finger. It's creativity, self-expression. It's like it's not enough energy and it just kind of exploding. Okay, probably not going to have time to get to fingertips. Maybe just go over it really quickly because it doesn't take much time. It's really self-explanatory. At the end, I've got pretty clear notes on it too. I just thought I'd throw in fingertips in case we ran out of time. Okay. So line of clairvoyance, inner voice centered around spirituality. Again, it's spiritual wisdom type marker. Would be great for a person that wanted to be a life coach. Ability to perceive events or see things that others cannot. So about 3% of the population owns this type of a marker. So it's a marker that people are kind of hesitant to want to show because they feel like they're a little bit outcasts. So it takes a person who's really secure with themselves to be able to start using that this type of energy. Again, I would check with the thumb and see what position the thumb is. It'll kind of help you, let you know if they're really if they're doing it or not. Okay, penalty side, disillusionment, alienation. They just don't fit. yeah, they just feel alienated. They can't express what they really feel out of fear of reprise, or people just thinking they're weird. Again, nice line of clairvoyance. You can see how it's kind of bends here. And sometimes more than one line will make up a marking. And you see how it kind of combines with other lines. Or you can just take the line here and it kind of curves here. There's kind of two here you can actually make out. Line of clairvoyances. Again, pointy tip. A little bit of a short Jupiter here. And look, it's actually low set. See how these, the Apollo and the Apollo should be about even height. So when it's low set, that means you're below quota in whatever that finger needs. And this finger needs respect. Jupiter needs respect. That's a Zeus. And when your Zeus finger becomes low set, that's a person that's not getting the respect they feel they really deserve. And that's hard to do because they're probably not getting it with this line of clairvoyance, because every time they talk to speak their truth, they're looked at as what's wrong with this person. And again, and look at the shape of the Mercury finger, another thread here. When it's bent like this, it's a person who is not trusting themselves. Okay. And afraid to speak the truth, because when it's bent like this, this is manipulated truth. Okay. So they're not saying exactly what they're really feeling and believing. Okay, we did this. Octopus brain. Okay, this is a very long headline. Again, this is a marking of a kind of a super processor. Remember the rule we talked about earlier in lines and in fingers. The longer it is, the more time we spend there. So this is a person who spends a lot of time processing. Notice how it's a very straight line. It goes almost to the very edge of the hand. So the challenge with this is to find something big, complicated, and important. Otherwise, all your thoughts go into relationship troubles, and you start making problems for yourself. So if this person, one thing I usually ask people when I see a line like this that's real long, a headline, I'll ask them, are they doing something big, complicated, and important in their work? If they're not, more than likely they're having relationship issues. Okay, very strong Mercury finger here too, quick, sharp, and clever. Along with this long headline, those will also work real nice together. Okay. Thumb is in pretty decent position. It's a good length thumb. A person who sees possibilities. The longer the thumb, the more possibilities a person sees. Usually bigger goals they tend to have too. Short thumbs, life looks really hard. Okay. Again, maximum, this is like a computer that's got maximum storage, memory storage, okay? Great at synthesizing things, doing a lot of multiprocessing. Yeah, tend to show up in air hands, because air hands, air is the thinkers, they spend a lot of time in their head anyway. So you tend to see people, and I have that actually, I've got an air hand with a very long headline. I spend way too much time in my head, probably more than I should. Okay. So you want to balance that with action. You want to do something too. Okay, don't spend all your time in your head. Try to do something, get active. This is uncomfortable for me to some extent. It's always been throughout my life. So I kind of try to push myself outside of my comfort zone. It's kind of therapy for me to teach. It's difficult to get started, but once I get started, I actually enjoy it and I feel like I accomplish things. So I kind of try to create action and try to get my thumbs out as much as I can and get myself moving. Oh, we did have time. Fingerprints, I'll get a couple minutes left. Should probably take some questions here. Let me just take a look at the questions here real quick. You can look at these these fingertips, and it's really self-explanatory. Again, this would be pointy fingertips. It talks about what this would be a conic fingertips, kind of like I said, kind of a rounded fingertips, and more people pleaser type energy. Don't like confrontation so much. This would be more squared. See how these are squared off, kind of these fingertips. And then the spatulate would be, you can look at the Apollo finger, particularly. Apollo, and look how splayed out that is. That's creativity, self-expression, Richard says it's intolerant of restraint. They just need to express their energy as much as they can. Missing star of Saturn. I'm not sure what missing the star of Saturn means per se. Not everybody even has a star of Saturn, so it's actually, you don't see a lot of it. But it is a potential for making money. And that doesn't mean you need a star of Saturn to make money. There's plenty of rich people out there with the star of Saturn. But if it is in your, and this is true with any marking, if it is in your hands, you want it to be in your life. You have an obligation, a responsibility to use it. And if you don't, you suffer the consequences. Okay. I don't have a book or handouts yet. If you send me an email, though, I can redirect you to some teachers that I know that have some good content on teaching. Renelle Coburn, I think, is the one woman I really like, some stuff that she's put out. I'd be happy to forward that on to you. You can just contact me on my email. Oh, okay. Headline and heart line were the same, except there were a curved separation towards the headline. You have to see it, but when the headline and the heart line join together, that's called the Simian line. And some people have just one straight, clear line that goes straight across the hand. And Simian is ape, right? And it doesn't mean you're ape-like, but what it tends to mean is it's a person that has great concentration, that can really focus on something. Okay, but there's also the possibility of miscommunication. What comes out of their mouth isn't different from, they feel it from what people are actually hearing. So there's kind of a problem there with communication. They're not expressing themselves as they really think that they are. But it's called the Simian line. Really interesting. You can probably Google it and get a lot of information on that particular line. I like doing ink prints, but I don't do them anymore. Obviously, I retired from my practice. When I do see people, I see a handful of people now. I still look at their hands, and you can tell in the hands just as easy as to print what's going on. It just takes a little bit of practice, and you can see everything you need to see in a matter of seconds. That's what's so great about this. Take their pulse, look at their palms, and get all sorts of information on people. Let's see. Okay, I think that's about it for today. I'm not sure. I think my next class is probably on hand shapes, I think. There's a lot to learn there still. And we're going to actually take each zone in the hand. There's actually 3 zones: the upper tips of the fingers, the middle zone, and then there's the lower zone. And we'll discuss in each one of these phalange here, each one has their own meaning. And I'd like to try and break that down if we have time to, because it'll just give you some more information on a person's personality. It's really kind of neat stuff to look at too. Hand shapes. Okay, great. I think that does it. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you got some out of this. And like I said, I'd be happy to, I think on the handouts, it should have my email address on it. I feel free to email me anytime. I'll be happy to get back to you. Hope you enjoyed it.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Rick Bernard. We appreciate you guys all being here. If you enjoyed today's class, we would appreciate if you could share your experience on social media to help promote both Rick Bernard and eLotus. As a reminder, the quiz and the video replay will both be available tomorrow afternoon, and you will receive an email notification when they are ready. Thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you at the next webinar on May 3rd, Acupuncture for the Soul, Guardian and Support Archetypes with David Hartman. Bye, guys.
Hi, guys.
Recording stopped.